Welcome back! I'm Tyler, you're watching I'm Telling Tyler, our write-in series where you can ask me a question, tell me the latest tea, and so long as the tea or question is at least Lolita adjacent, you can send your tea and or queries to imtellingtyler@gmail.com. Before our first submission from Grandma Puff and Fluff, I just want you to know I'm cropping it a little bit. Grandma, you wrote me a frackin' essay, and while I did read it in its entirety, I'm going to be taking out retirement before I can get through all of it on this show. And I feel like you ask most of the pertinent questions at the top, so I'm going to read that to the good people of the world, and you and I shall keep the bulk of the essay between you and me, just so people don't start collecting Social Security before we get through this video, okay? I'm long-winded enough as it is. If we put both of us on this video, people are going to be taking out early retirement. That's all I'm saying. So, let's get started with Grandma Puff and Fluff's submission. And Grandma Puff and Fluff says, "Hello Tyler, you can use Grandma for my name, and she/her pronouns. For as much as I enjoy your content, I've never really had a reason to write into the show before. This one time, however, I need the advice of another seasoned Lolita that's just as salty as I am. I'm in a bind, a conceptual bind. I'm having some seriously conflicting feelings concerning the topic of concret within the community, and how far we go to be welcoming/accommodating. For context, a certain Lolita YouTuber posted a video concerning constructive criticism, unwanted concret, and how potentially damaging it can be to newcomers and veterans alike. This is not a letter about me dunking on their content. Please don't misunderstand me. This particular Lolita YouTuber had some wonderful points, and their video on concret got me thinking hard and reflecting on my own experiences in the fashion concerning constructive criticism, especially when I was first starting out in 2010/2011. Side note, that's when I started too. We started around the same time, that's cool. Back to your letter. I was reduced to tears by a pair of girls at a convention when I wore my first handmade attempt at classic out into the public eye, and it almost drove me away from the fashion entirely. I get it. I've experienced unprompted fat-shaming/ableism before. It sucks. I've improved leaps and bounds since then as both a person and within the context of the fashion itself. I'm one of those couch-printed Metamorphose-loving diehards. Come at me, bro. But still have a deep fear of posting any of my coordinates online due to my weight. It's garbage, but I know I'm not the only one with this kind of experience within the community. The YouTuber discussed this at length, and I agree with them on those points, but as the video carried on, I felt myself growing more and more conflicted. I've agreed with them on so many other videos in the past about being kind and accepting, welcoming and engaging, that it feels uncomfortable to disagree with them at all, especially with how beloved they are within the community at large. I feel like such a butthead for even bringing this up or disagreeing with this YouTuber in the first place, but I feel like I have to get this off my chest. Is there such a thing as being too nice? At what point does acceptance of everyone's interpretation of Lolita end? How far can experimentation go before it stops being EGL altogether? How much can you blend this explosion of tasteful frills and femininity before it stops being what made it so special in the first place? How long can a person hide behind the no concrete shield on something that's clearly chucking any kind of guideline out the window before someone is allowed to say something? The YouTuber brought up a point about the fashion evolving as the years went by, and how experimentation is how the fashion will survive, but where do we draw the line? Is it the silhouette? Is it attitude? Is it the total skirt yardage or theming? Is it intent? Is it total cost of the coordinate? All of these have issues with them, including potential drawbacks and gatekeeping opportunities in and of themselves. And in the modern landscape of social media, this shit is a minefield. After what happened to the aforementioned YouTuber a few months ago, it's made me nervous to even speak on this issue in the first place, and I dared not comment on the YouTube video itself for fear of being eviscerated. Before anyone comes at me for getting on other people's asses for locking the gates, let me clarify, this is only concerning clothes/interpretation, not anything physical. Letting loose on somebody because you think their nose is too big or you don't like them using a cane/walker is the ultimate big nasty that needs to be taken out to the trash and lit on fire. This isn't what I'm talking about. Think about the person who went walking into a comm meet with a shiny spirit Halloween costume with 4 to 6 inches of thighs bared, or bearing midriffs with a crop top and Lolita skirt with a petticoat beneath, while still keeping the EGL tags. Think a confused nymphette on social media, the sissy bait / Milano disasters, normie fashion creep, or even Nazi gear used in cohorts, specifically death's head rings, etc. These are all things we as nooblets back in the LJ days would be crucified for. I can't help but reflexively cringe, and that's where the conflicting feelings and thoughts begin. Maybe it's a trauma response, maybe it's me clutching at my pearls, maybe it's fear on the poster's behalf that they're about to get nailed to the wall like I was. No matter what it is, I fear the fashion losing what truly sets it apart from other alt-fashion styles trying to swallow it whole, because we as a community are too afraid to set any kind of boundaries whatsoever. And that is where we're gonna cut it off. There is more, but I feel like you've asked the bulk of the questions that you want to ask. In fact, you've asked like 40 different questions, so we're gonna cut it there for now. I honestly think you asked something that is really important, and I feel like a lot of people are wondering about, and sometimes I mull it over myself. But I do believe that in the context of the letter that you've already sent, I think you've already come upon your own answer. And to specifically address the point that I feel like is most pertinent to what you want to know, where you say, at what point does acceptance of everyone's interpretation of Lolita end? And even more specifically, where do we draw the line, to quote you directly? I think you already stumbled upon that when you talked about your own experience with ableism and fat shaming. The line, to me, is pretty clearly on concrete is acceptable on anything that is not intrinsic to the person. So, for example, exactly how when you experienced fat shaming or ableism, if someone's concrete is about your weight, or about your cane, or your wheelchair, or your mobility aids in any way, it's not concrete. That is not constructive. The whole point of constructive criticism is to be constructive. And just on a scientific level, the research says telling someone to lose weight, as studies show, will only harm their self-esteem and make them gain more weight. That's what we found out about fat shaming. So how is telling someone to lose weight or commenting on their weight with a cord in mind helping them in any way? How is that constructive? The answer is it's not. And you already stumbled upon that in your own experience. And that, to me, concisely, is the line. Anything that is innate to that person. You could say the same thing about someone's facial structure, their bone structure, the shape of their body, how big busted or small busted they are. A perfect transitional point where we can say the Lolita community has actually made it pretty easy as to whether or not concrete is valid, at least in concept, in Closet of Frills, by having posters specifically saying no concrete, or not add that to their post so you know exactly who wants concrete and who doesn't. I think that's a great idea because it allows people who don't want concrete and just want to share their outfits with the group to just do that, and people who want to improve their outfits to do that. I feel like it makes Closet of Frills a useful group for that in that context, so long as no one's wearing a sex toy on their face. Anyway. Now, to address your second point on gatekeeping, I am actually pro-gatekeeping. Whoa, big surprise, the lady that routinely eviscerates people likes to put up walls. All I'm saying is that Mana did not come up with Iron Gate for no reason. The Lolita community needs sensible borders and a decent helping of border control. I am not pro Edas and cages, but what I'm saying is, if Lolita fashion wasn't as carefully defined as it is, it would have been absorbed by the fracking viscera of thousands of other J fashions and sub-alt fashions or fucking whatever long ago. It wouldn't have lasted as long as it has. The reason that Lolita is still Lolita and is still thriving today, in my opinion, which of course is in my opinion, it's my fucking show, is that it actually has boundaries. And because of those boundaries, it can't be absorbed by other fashions. And it also takes a certain amount of investment of time, money, and effort. Unlike other fashions, say like Gyaru, which you can get at almost any store, which was just like fracking Japanese e-girl style, frankly. I've got all the Gyaru fans mad at me now, but fracking fight me. Lolita fashion, it takes a certain amount of investment that's going to make it less likely for the people practicing it to just like try it out and then leave. If you spent a mini fridge's worth of money on an outfit, you're probably going to want to wear that outfit. There's a certain amount of motivation to get some use out of that outfit, as opposed to something that you can put together at your local Goodwill. Is there anything wrong with an outfit from a different fashion that's not Lolita that you managed to put together at your local Goodwill? No. I've got some amazing finds at Goodwill. but I'm not as motivated to wear those things just by the sheer amount of like effort and time and experience it took me to get them, right? I just walked into Goodwill, grabbed a dress off the rack, put it on my body, oh, it fits, and then I take it home. There's no research, there's no community, there's no culture. Like, Lolita has so many more things going for it than a lot of other alternative fashions do, and I feel like our community is so much stronger because of those things, because it takes time and effort, and we like to coalesce and trade tips and information and all the latest releases. Like, our communities are actually pretty damn lively, and the fact that they've continued to be lively for over a decade, like, insofar as I've been here, right? I haven't been here the whole span of Lolita's existence. For reference, for those who don't know, Lolita fashion, at least proto-Lolita, started in the 1970s. How many fashion communities do you know that are still as lively as Lolita that have been around for 50-something years? Like, Lolita fashion is almost old enough to start applying for retirement, okay? Lolita fashion should be walking around but with a walker, but instead she's got 2 parasols and she's ready to beat up the Ida next door. Lolita fashion is as spry and amazing as ever, and the community is so fucking vibrant, and part of that is the boundaries. We didn't just topple the gates and let Lolita fashion's, like, innards just ooze out into the ether and be devoured by the hordes of goths and e-girls and pastel J-fashion kawaii bullshit cat girl nonsense out there, alright? There's a scary world outside, and if we don't keep those fracking iron gates closed and only open them for Lolitas, we're gonna have a problem. But seriously, Lolita has boundaries for a reason, okay? If you completely slam those gates down, Lolita fashion as we know it, honestly, it would probably disappear. It probably would if we weren't such a dedicated community that was really, really invested in making sure Lolita as we know it continues. And I'm not saying that you can't experiment. To go back to your point where you ask, like, what's the line? How much experimentation is too much experimentation? Now, that's going to differ person to person, but I think at its most basic, most veteran Lolitas are going to be able to tell if something is still Lolita, and most of them will probably agree. It really does come down to maintaining enough of the core components of Lolita, such as the shape, right? You have your skirts, your A-line, your cupcakes, your bell-shaped skirts, maintaining the spirit, so we probably don't have our titties out, we're probably not flashing crotch, you know, no one can see your butt, and just maintaining basic items. So you could say with era Lolita, you may break the rule of a blouse. Well, most of the outfit is still going to be Lolita, right? You're still going to have a headpiece. You're still going to have your necklace and your accessories. You're still going to have some kind of leg wear most of the time. You're going to have your Lolita specific shoes. You know, you might be wearing some heels or something like that. If you're experimenting with footwear, let's say that the frackin' Nike Lolita, I'll see if I can find a picture of them, Nike Air Lolita. I don't frackin' know what they were up to. I think the air they were breathing was helium, because I don't know why they put those goddamn shoes on their feet. Anyway, I'll put a picture of them. You'll notice most of their outfit is still Lolita, so it's not something that breaks all the rules. You still have most of the rules in place, and that's kind of how you know how something is still Lolita, because they're still maintaining most of the look, and that's what's important, frankly. Because I also agree that experimentation in Lolita is important. And new trends and stuff like that are fun. When everyone was wearing fucking skewers on their head, I may not have wanted to make a shish kebab myself out of my skull, but I thought it was cool until they put a couple people's eyes out, and then I was ready for it to, you know, move along. I was a proponent of the split wigs phase. I have a split wig in there. It's brown and pink, and I like it, and I haven't put it on my head because it hurts my fucking head, but I like how it looks. It's like chocolate and strawberry ice cream right next to each other. I like experimentation. I like new things in the fashion. The only thing we have to remember is maintaining the core components. That's all you gotta do. It is not hard to experiment in Lolita. Lolita's rules are so easy. There's so few of them. It's like, you need a dress. The dress has to be of like 3 shapes. You need a blouse. You need some headwear. Throw some jewelry on. Wear some footwear. And wear some shoes. Make sure there's a petticoat. That's it. That's all the rules of Lolita. And you're telling me some people feel constrained by those? Then leave. It's not hard, is what I'm trying to say. Even though I went on like a whole, like, maintain the borders, Eata's and Cage's rants. What I'm saying is Lolita it's such a fucking simple fashion. It's not hard, okay? If it's hard, you're making it hard, alright? Quick side street, you essentially bring up a point that reminds me of a common refrain from people who aren't Lolitas or who are outside the Lolita community, who every time they see a story about concret or they receive some kind of concret on something that they have termed or tagged Lolita that isn't Lolita, they always say something to the effect of, "This is why the Lolita community is dying. This is what's killing your scene." And I say that in a dumb fracking voice because these people are fracking nitwits. Alright, every last goddamn one of them has no idea what they're talking about. Because not only is the Lolita community not dying from concrete or gatekeeping, it's more lively than ever before. There's more Lolita content creators than ever before. There's more fracking topics on Ruffle Chat. Lolita brands are raking it in by the fracking fistful. There's a 50,000 Taobao brands that cater specifically to Lolita. The Lolita community is not only alive and kicking, it's fracking thriving. And let me tell you, it is not lacking for people who can't follow a few little basic rules, okay? People always announce their departure from this fashion like it's a fracking airport. Like, I'm not coming back, you're all a bunch of bitches. And I always feel like I'm standing there next to a TSA agent thinking, don't come back. Like, no part of concrete culture, or gatekeeping has remotely stopped or stunted the growth of the Lolita community. If anything, it's the thing that has made it thrive. It is the thing that has kept the community strong and well-defined so it doesn't get eaten by pastel goth fashion or whatever the fuck the newest ticket is. Right now it's like e-girl. I don't know. I don't keep up with these things. I remember the great trend of everyone sticking their tongue out with the ahego trend. All I'm saying is I saw down way too many throats, alright? And Lolita did not get swallowed whole by that shit because it has boundaries, okay? No one needs to hear that you're leaving and no one gives a flip. If some nitwit decides they don't want to be a Lolita anymore because some perfectly well-meaning person on Closet of Frills said, hey, your lime green Crocs aren't Lolita, well, good fucking riddance! We don't need ya! There's so many goddamn Lolitas, I'm fighting you bitches off on the Japanese secondhand market. It used to be easy to get things there, and now it's an all-out war. I'm having to stab people with parasols while I'm panic dialing my shopping service, hoping someone in Japan or China doesn't get it before I do. This community is so goddamn lively that every Closet Child release is a cataclysmic event. Lolita fashion is not dying, and it's certainly not hurting for members, especially members that seem to be so entitled to call something Lolita and yet cannot follow such a barely teensy basic rule to make it so. Why do people who are obviously not wearing Lolita feel so entitled to use the name? And I feel like I don't have the answer beyond maybe there's some brain bleeds going around, but it drives me fracking nuts. And all I'm saying is that the fashion is better off without such people who aren't willing to put in any effort at all. Like, again, you can get bodyline dresses for 30 bucks. You can get Taobao dresses for 30 bucks. There's so many different options in this fashion. There's budget-friendly options, weight-friendly options, height-friendly options. Like, if you are a human being, we can get you some Lolita, alright? We will figure it out. Now, obviously, there are some reasonable cutoffs. Like, someone living on 2 grains of rice a day and a prayer is probably not going to even be able to afford the $30 bodyline dress. But again, Lolita is a fracking hobby. It is not a right, okay? Most anyone, even the people on the strictest budgets, are going to eventually be able to afford at least one coordinate. Even if you're only saving $10 a month or something like that, in 3 months, you will have a bodyline dress. So you already got your dress, okay? It is an accessible fashion, surprisingly so, considering how unimportant it is. And by unimportant, I mean, it's not something that you would be entitled to in the grand communist revolution, okay? There would not be a sudden distribution of Brando, is all I'm saying. And yet it is still incredibly accessible even for someone who's not making a lot of money, even for someone who's working minimum wage or paying a lot of rent. Like, if you save even $5 a month, in 6 months you've got a bodyline dress. Look at that. You got the dress. You did it. And again, it's not like food or water. It's a fancy princess dress, okay? So insofar as fancy princess dresses go, on the tiers of importance to human survival and happiness, Lolita is surprisingly accessible considering all the things, all it takes, and all that goes into it. That's all I'm saying. And finally, to answer your last question, I haven't seen the video you were talking about, but like, is there such a thing as being too nice? Yes. And to answer that question, I honestly want to break the difference between nice and kind. Too many people try and be nice, and it ends up with them not being very kind. And here's what I mean by that. For example, nice would be not saying anything when you see an absolute garbage fire Milano tier dress in shiny satin with scratchy cat ears and no fucking footwear being posted in Closet of Frills. That's not saying anything. That would be nice. But by being nice, you would not be being kind, all right? Kindness is something entirely different from niceness. Kindness implies an act that is actually going to help that person, all right? By being kind, by being gentle with them, and yet actually helping push them forward. And this is presuming they haven't put no concrete, okay? The nice thing to do would be not to say anything. The kind thing to do would be to politely tell them that you like their efforts, but Milano is not Lolita, and here are some very useful links for them to use. Now, are they going to be kind to you in return? Maybe not. They might be upset because they just wasted their money on a garbage fire, but if there's any hope for them, and if you put in the effort, you may well be one of the reasons that they eventually get their fucking head screwed on right and stop dressing like a crazed ferret who just snaps up any shiny thing they see and takes it back to their little hole. You may pull them out of their burrow and make them into a respectable marmot. Now, do I know if a ferret or a marmot are the same thing? I don't know. I don't collect weasels. I'm sorry. I have a cat, like a normal person. Anyway, so in summary, is there such a thing as being too nice? Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah. Being nice can often mean not being kind. Being nice can often mean enabling someone's behavior that eventually will catch up to them and it will be very unpleasant. One more time, it's not concrete if you're talking about someone's skin or their height or their weight or their race or their eye color. And also, when you're giving concrete, it helps to keep it quick and short and cheap, all right? Don't be like, hey, you could fix this if you spent $400 on this specific dress that I think would look good on you, all right? Keep it reasonable. All I'm saying is put yourself in their shoes and consider what kind of advice you would like to receive in that situation and what tone you might use. They might still get upset, but at least it won't be your fault. And one more time, just because people didn't seem to know it back in the LJ days, if you don't like someone's specific hair type, especially if it is a traditionally black hair type, you shut your goddamn mouth. Alright? Don't tell someone to straighten their fucking hair or do some weird fracking hair product nonsense that's gonna burn their goddamn scalp, alright? No one should suffer pain to appear beautiful to you specifically. That right there, that's another fracking rule. I'm gonna put that down. If someone has to suffer pain to be beautiful to you specifically, that is not concrete. So if you're telling somebody to wax, to put weird hair products in their hair to straighten it chemically that's gonna burn their scalp, if you're telling them to get any kind of surgery, anything that causes pain, and that goes for disability aids too. If you're telling someone to like put down their cane, take off their prescription glasses for pictures, or any other kind of aid to their physical movement or health, that's not concrete, okay? So that's one more rule. We're putting that down. If it causes them pain, it's not concrete. So again, gates are there for a reason. And they are open to all who are willing to put in the bare amount of effort for the few, teeny, flimsy, easy to frackin' accomplish rules that Lolita has. All I'm saying is a reasonable amount of gatekeeping is pretty much the only reason that Lolita continues to this day, and so long as we're making sure not to gatekeep things that are intrinsic to human people, I think we'll be okay. I don't want to let every Tom, Dick, and DDLG degenerate up in here, alright? We got minors up in here. I know I say it every single time, but I can't believe someone who doesn't like children repeatedly has to tell everyone else to think of the children. I don't even like them. But I still don't want them getting creeped on by some 40-year-old man in a diaper. Is that so much to ask? I'm ending it there. I am tired. This has been Tyler. You've been watching I'm Telling Tyler. And one more time, should you like to submit an entry to this pit of fracking hell and vipers, you can send your submission to imtellingtyler@gmail.com. Again, I would like it to be tea or a question, or at least Lolita adjacent for my sanity. I'd like to thank my patrons for being there for me while I went through the video that I filmed before this. So if I look a little on edge, That's why. And it's also why there's only one submission this time. And if you'd like to join their number, you can head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews for more content that I don't recommend anyone see ever for any reason. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you next time. I just wanted to show you the outfit that I put together for a super stressful video that the patrons know about, but is super secret to everyone else, but was stressful nonetheless. So I dressed like a berserk bunny girl, and I wore the choker that I made myself. I made this. Mr. Cameraman, would you like to get a look at this choker that I made? AP recently released something that was a lot like this. You can move back from my throat, which is probably bobbling up and down as I try and make words. They released something a lot like this in this crazy bloodbath that crashed their site, and the choker that I wanted, just like, there was no way to get it. I tried to add it to cart, it kept disappearing, it wouldn't even let me enter, like, confirm. So I was like, frack it, I can make a 3-ribbon choker. This is not rocket science. Unless you're Elon Musk. But his rockets kept blowing up, so maybe it is rocket science. Anyway, I made this choker. I'm super proud of it. It's kind of like inspired by the AP choker. I'll put it on the screen so you can compare it, you know, back and forth, but I like it. Also, I got the bunny ears that were really hard to get. Thank you, shopping service. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Won't speak your name. Probably don't want to be associated with me, but thank you. I love them. They're huge, and because they're huge, they don't hurt your head because they don't push. But I had to show you this outfit because I was super proud of it. Also, I got new shoes. Look at those. They're from Sosic. I think they're like 20 bucks or something like that. They're super cheap. Isn't that cute? I love them. They've got little stars, and you can totally move this little star thing to the side if you wanted to. So you can have it on the side of your foot, on the left of my ankle there, if you want. I was a little suspicious at first because of the satin, but I actually like it. I think that's a nice little detail. I think it looks neat. Plus, they're super comfy. Because they're open at the side, I bet they'll be even more comfortable in the summer when, you know, you're getting hot. There's a lot of sun. Everyone who watches this channel knows that I reside in Texas. I'm running out of breath because I had to talk for like 2 hours straight for this fracking video that I just filmed. It was not fun, but it needed to be done. So, I will say, I think this is about the end to the outfit tour. Also, I put Decoration Dream in Yellow's bow on my chest with a bunny clip from AP. Like Mocha Mocha Bunnies release or whatever. I can't remember which one it came from. It came from something something bunnies. Alright. And this. And I also have a BB&B ring on. It's a little yellow Sakura color. I like that one too. I have, if Mr. Cameraman will bear with me, I have one more thing that I want to show them. What do you think? Can you stay
go ahead.
awake?
Come on.
Stay there. Don't move. I'm gonna grab it. I got one more thing recently that I'm super excited about. And I bought this, okay? This is not a sponsored post. But I just wanted to show it to you. It's a bag! It's the, I think, deluxe heart bag with glitter from Cotton Candy Feet. I have been hearing about their bags for I don't know how long, always about how awesome they are and how huge they are and how many different ways you can use them, but I never owned one until now, and I waited for it to come back in stock because I'm impatient and I'm not gonna wait for a pre-order. So I finally bought a bag from Cotton Candy Feet, and what you're not seeing is that these little hearts come off. These little hearts come off, and you can put like handbag straps on them. I've got the straps inside this bag right now. You can put handbag straps on them, or you can make it into a backpack. It comes with like a set of backpack straps, this like shoulder strap here, and 2 little handbag straps. You get your money's worth for this thing, and I don't regret buying it at all. I love it. I can't wait for the world to open back up and for me to go to fracking conventions with this thing and carry my whole life. I will carry all of Texas with me in this little bag. Deep in the heart of Texas, deep in the heart of this bag, is my happiness that I bought with money. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys because I'm a little bit hyper and I really, really like the bag, and I think it'll look cute with this outfit. I'm gonna put it on. What do you think, Mr. Cameraman? Am I fashionable?
You are fashionable.
I got my new shoes, I got my new bag, I got my new ears, and I got the new choker that I made myself. Also art. Have you seen the new art? That's by Trash Kitty or Trash Cat or... I can't remember the fracking artist's name. I'll put it on the goddamn screen, okay? I love this. I love this so much. And this one that you need to see real quick is by Toxic Suz on Instagram. Thank you so much, Toxic Suz, for letting me buy this from you. They fracking drew this, showed it to me, and they were kind enough to let me purchase a copy so I could put it on my wall. Thank you so much. I love it. And obviously it's a drawing from this Instagram picture that I will put on the screen right here with movie magic. So yes, Trash Kitty Art and @ToxicSuz on Instagram. Love both of their art. Fan-fracking-tastic. And I think that's the update for the room. I don't think there's anything else new in here besides the tea set the cameraman got me, right? That's everything?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about it later because cameraman is exhausted and about to get his second vaccine shot, right? That's what's about to happen?
Yep, and it's pouring rain outside, so I can't wait. This is
gonna
be so much fun.
I'm gonna drive,
And I appreciate it.
I'm gonna use all this hyperactive energy to drive you to a shot that may very well save your life, so you owe me your life right now. What am I going to get out of you for this favor? And on that note...